Hi everyone, I'm Faida, a member of an organization based in RDC, in DRC, called CADRE, Comité d'appui au développement rural et endogène. And the address is in Goma. Can you hear me, Fatin?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I would like just to introduce our organization. We have 4 points to present about our organization. Fatin, you can share the document. We have a management bodies which has inside four teams: the General Assembly, the Board of Directors, the Commission of Controls, and the coordination. Our vision is a world without poverty and without discrimination, where access to opportunities is equal for all, empowerment of young people and women. Our mission is to initiate community development projects using the research action approach to improve the living conditions of the community thanks to economic income and agriculture production in perfect harmony with a healthy physical environment. We have 4 strategic goals. The first one is to strengthen food security of local communities, to contribute to protect the environment, to support formal and informal education, and to promote women empowerment. We also have 4 main areas of intervention: food security and nutrition, environmental protection, formal education and vocational training, gender and socio-economic development. Regarding that presentation, I would like to welcome our first panelist, Dia Godefroy Maregani, to talk us about, to present us the subject of the day, and after we'll go through questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Faida. Farah, can I take the floor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please show the video about Bushushu village, the first video. Okay, there you are. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar telling about the tragic natural disaster that happened in the Bushushu village, which is in DR Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. The video here shows 2. There is something wrong. Can I go on, or I have to stop a little? Fata, Fatin.
Sir, the video is over.
Come again.
Please just go on.
Thank you. So this first video was showing how the whole village in Bushushu were washed away by a huge tragedy regarding natural disaster in Bushushu, which is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are 2 sub-villages there and 2 rivers. And the rivers, as you have seen on the video, have destroyed all the houses along the lake. And Now, no one can recognize where the houses were. We can take the English translation of the following video. Thank you very much. So this part, it disappears again. Show, let it on. Okay. So this translation of the English video on Bushushu Calais tragic natural disaster. Local humanitarian is getting organized. Once more, Calais territory has just known a natural disaster with an enormous impact of the population. Following heavy rains on Thursday, the 4th of May, 2023, that caused rivers to rise, mudslides and stone buried Bushushu village, namely the sub-village of Chabondo and Kabushungu that we have just seen on the previous video, and Nyamukumi, to name the few. Following slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we deplore loss of human life. The first estimate report more than 400 bodies recovered and several hundred missing people missing. Villages are completely washed away. Roads cut. More than 3,000 households remain homeless. Field is destroyed. Survivors deprived of everything. Alerted the local and national organization grouped in Seconat and Kofonat met urgently to see responses to bring to this agency, this crisis. After marathon and consultation meetings with the National Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, they informed OCHA. OCHA stands for Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, about the organization of the first assistance led by local NGOs and the organization of an assessment mission with to bring responses. Next slide. This morning, a team made up of 20 national organizations left Bukavu, which is the first city at 80 kilometers from Bushushu village in the south. So those 12 organizations left Bukavu for Calais with 3 tons of medical equipment and medicines to provide an initial response in addition to the food assistance provided by the government. The needs are enormous, and we need the mobilization of the entire humanitarian community to respond to this acute crisis, which has just been added to another crisis already existing in the area of Calais territory. Indeed, the territory of Calais, according to the figures published by OCHA, has more than 500,000 internal displaced people by the rebel war in North Kivu province. This gives an idea of the extent of the needs for the area. Priorities are shelters, health, water, food assistance, sanitation, and at the end, relocation of the survivors. So there is no way for those survivors to stay in the same area, which is not safe at all. Thank you very much for this slide. Now we can show the video that shows how the nature, how the environment has been. Okay, let's take now the video. Thank you. DRC official video, please. That's it. You see how the nature looks like? There were houses here, and one may think it's a lava or from a volcano. These are the remaining houses along the lake as Nyamukubi village. You see, completely destroyed. That's a church over there on the left, on the right side. Direct the remaining parts of the houses here. Now, these are the national organizations, actors who are giving the first aid to alleviate the suffering of the population who were affected by that tragic natural disaster. Here is the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. This is the first aid to help survivors have something as medicines and the other regarding their health. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Are you done?
Yes, now we can start the following. The slides which summarize all the natural disaster. Can you display it, please? Thank you. Now we start to see these slides about this is, if you see this, oh, stop there, stop a little. I want to show the constraint. Yeah. When you see over there down the hill, this is a pending threat in the village. Once there is much rain, this part of the mountain will go down and wash away whatever on its way. That's Chabondo village. Next slide. Yeah, that's always Chabondo. You see all these stones here that stands as lava have buried houses there. You see there is one house remaining on the right side, but there were houses all over the stones over there. And people, houses, and households were buried down. Next slide. Here is a cameraman who came from Goma on a visit to see the tragedy in Bushushu. He's pointing at this place to show that there were houses and people were living them there. And most of the people who were there were buried inside their houses. So that's why we said that there are around 5,000 missing people. No, their corpses were not found. Next slide. Rest of destroyed houses. Next slide. Yeah, as we saw on the first video, houses were buried alongside the lake here. And you can see the road that the river followed when it came with mudslides and stones to destroy all the village and kill people and whatever was there. Next slide, please. Yeah, it was a market day in that village. In the village, market is once a week. On a Thursday, it was a market day in Nyamukubi, and people came from all over the province. And those who died were not only people from Bushushu village. There were people who came, some from North Kivu, others from South Kivu, and all of them were either killed, buried, or were taken to hospital. So you can see here there is a bridge, and the market is over the bridge. So the market is no longer recognizable. No one can know that there was a market there. Next slide, please. That's the bridge. The same bridge we saw in the previous slide, indicating the road, this road joining two towns, Goma and Bukavu, is no longer practiced. No car can go from Goma to Bukavu, neither from Bukavu to Goma. So the bridge was damaged. Next slide. So there were houses where you see many stones and mud slides. Everywhere there were houses, but no one can imagine that people have ever lived in that area. So that's Nyamukubi village. Next slide. It was said that around 450 people were killed. It means they had identified corpses. Those corpses were so many, they found them the second and the third day. And there was no way to keep the corpse until they find coffins. So the local authorities decided to bury them in a mass grave. So here, Red Cross are digging the mass grave for the corpses that were discovered in the mud. Next slide. We spoke about missing people. Around 5,000 are said to be missed. And to know, to have an indication about missing people, the authorities advised family members to write a document, a kind of statement about their missing relatives. And these are the documents collected so far, which show that around 5,000 people are missing. They didn't find their corpse, and they are not alive. So they are supposed to be buried into the stones and mud that destroyed the whole village. Next slide. So here I want to make a kind of summary of the damages caused by the tragic natural disaster in the Bushushu village. Estimate Bushushu population are around 45,000 people initially living in Bushushu village. We don't consider here those who came for the market. Estimated number of 450 dead people buried, some in mass graves, others by their relatives. Estimated number of 5,000 missing people, as I said in the previous slide. Huge number of dead or missing people in Yamukubi because it was a market day attended by people from elsewhere. Estimated number of 3,000 homeless households. These are the people who must be relocated. They need houses. They need a safe place where they can be relocated. More than 4 school buildings were damaged. 2 community meeting buildings were washed away. 1 local market completely damaged, as you saw on the previous slide. 2 guest houses completely destroyed. Crops destroyed in the fields. 1 health center building also destroyed, and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. And I am Marigane Godefroy, coordinator of CADRE. I'm happy to share with you all these events that affected a population in Bushushu in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I hope that you have questions, and I give the floor to Mrs. Faida Chantal to organize, to receive the questions and organize the next chapter of our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Godefroy. Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about Bushushu and Calais natural disaster, which happened on 4th May this year. And now I think we can listen another panelist, Mr. Patience Tombola. He's among us, and he has something to say. And we are going forward through questions. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I hope that you catch me very well. My English is not so good like Godefroy and Chantal, but I'll try to figure out some facts. Basically, I'm from Bushushu, and I'm architect. I'm principal of an architectural firm based in Kinshasa, which named the Green Studio. We do focus on reconstruction of houses, housing, and with sustainability. I would like to make a small overview of what's happened in Bushushu, especially the causes. because this came from, let's say, since 1950s, when most of population there were cutting trees, make boards, and make makala for local fire for cooking in house. And the first thing for the causes, because before we move forward, we have to figure out the causes. And for me, I've captured that 4 major causes. The first one is basically the massive deforestation, because people from there used to cut trees to do many works for cooking, for boats, as they live near the Lake Kivu. So they make some fish to be fishing. The second cause is in 2000, we discovered some mineral in that area. So they are not industrial exploitation. They are artisanal exploitation. So these diggers who are trying to exploit the minerals are making some disfigure the relief, existing relief. And geologically, that mountain, all these mountains around Bushushu, Nyamukubi, all this territory of Kalehe are made by sand clay. So when they start digging to get mineral, this is one of the facts that the traditional or the natural relief doesn't exist anymore in the mountain over the houses. So this is also one of the causes. The second cause is that these guys, these diggers, have gained some money. And when they are gaining some money, everyone in African culture need to have a small house. And what's happened is that we see a spectacular development of houses. In the past time, all the houses were covered by thatch and straws. And if you see how the layouts of the house were organized, well, some points, not all over the mountain, but some specific areas where you can have some houses, 10 or 20, a family around the house, and then can go 1 or 2 kilometers after, you can have 10 or 15 houses for families. But what's happening is that everyone would like to have his own land and build a house to show people that I've got some money and I've become a man. So all these new houses are covered by galvanized sheets. Thus, galvanized sheets, it's we have, when there's some raining, without gutters, we cannot know how to I don't know how to say in English, how to collect water and to make good sanitation or sewage around the mountain. So this is also another cause. And for the fourth, there are some earthquake which happens. There is I would say decade. That earthquake made some. That earthquake made some weakness. Try to weaken the hill, and all the beaches which were around the lake disappeared. So we see that with the earthquake, the mountain, which doesn't have any trees, which have houses with galvanized sheets, so became weakened. That's one of the cause. So for me, from this point of view, we can expect having such a disaster. Also, we can add what we noticed here is a lack of local governance due to instability and security in these areas, where all development from the central government are postponed for later, because there's some existing project we should start since I guess 5 or 6 years, but because of insecurity in this area, this become a problem. So from this area, I guess we can now address the cause, to try to see how do these people can we help. I am speaking as architect. Can we help this local community surviving? And I try to base my reflection on the nature. Naturally, we are a friend with the nature, but once we turn our back to nature, we start what we call a silent war. The nature can start revenge. So as Mr. Godefroy was telling, we figured out about relocation of this population based on the existing culture. These people are live there since more than 2 centuries. So relocate the people without taking, in fact, in integrating this aspect can cause some problems. So we are trying from my side with some other colleagues, thinking about how to make a development of houses based on sustainability and integrating local cultures, and to help people restore their life. This means that based on local material, we should help people knowing how to build their life, their houses, respecting the built environment, and also to make it sustainable, using clay, using thatch for to cover their houses, and making some sewage system which respect the relief of the area. So that is my think, and as an architect, we need to address the problem with local people. That was my small view. I didn't have time to prepare, but I guess
Thank you very much.
We can continue this way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tombola. As an architect, we have your point of view, but we are rushing because we have only 1 hour. And now I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Gilbert Masumbuko, who is the president of the boards of this NGO cadre. He can just take the floor as a president of the board of CAD. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chantal, and thank you very much to everybody for organizing and joining this meeting. I just want to add a quick ideas to add to those raised by Tombola. That now, as Godefroy said, we are calling for emergency aid, emergency assistance in these places, and Godefroy mentioned the emergency needs. But we think that we have also to address the root causes of this situation, as Tombola started to say. So we need sustainable solutions. Yes, relocation of people is good, but it may be based on a good mapping of the safe places. So that must be mapped. But also, as Tombola said, I support totally his ideas. It must be in consultation with the population, not only saying we want to relocate you. We need to discuss with the population so that we can take into account their culture, their land issues, their livelihood issues, and so on. And also the capacity of the government and other actors to provide them with basic services where they are going. If you bring them to a place where there is no water, there is no school, there is no health center, and so on, what does that involve? So relocation is a very good idea, but we have to take into account those aspects. The second thing I want to say is also to ensure that some engineering work is done on the rivers and also on the watershed, les bassins versants, and also the mineral fields, so where people are going to take mineral resources. So there are some engineering work that must be done so that everything that is done in that place is protected. Because if that work is not done, every time the water will flow from the rivers and will destroy everything. The other thing, as Tombola said, is the tree planting. We need a very strong plan to plant trees in all those places, not only in Bushushu or Nyamukubi, but in all the hills, all the mountains. You can see behind those villages, all the area, because one of the causes is that water is coming from all those places with strong forces. That's why it comes from the rivers and destroys the properties, houses, and people. We need also to promote good practice for people, how they can live with the rivers. And cadre with others NGOs, we've developed a very short manual how people can live with the rivers, how people can plant trees, and so on. We need also to put in place an early warning system in place. We started that with cadre and others others actors, to put in place an early warning system so that if something is happening, people can know and what they can do. That's what I want to add. Just to say we need emergency support, but also we need to address the root causes by sustainable solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome all your questions regarding our panelists, what they say. And I can recall that we are talking about Bushushu and Calais natural disaster, which happened on 4th May in this year. You most welcome for questions. Okay, I can see one question in the chat. I don't know if it's he or she. The Joy Day, was there any early warning system before the disaster? Before the disaster took place, did it function? The first question. The other message is a normal message. Social Development Association, Comila is non-government, and the website. Okay, thank you. So, all our panelists, Mr. Godefroy, Tombola, and Gilbert, someone would like to know if there were an early warning system which worked before the disaster took place, if it were available and if it worked.
I can comment on that. We conduct the cadre with other actors. We conduct some workshop on that, but I can say it was not yet fully in place, and it didn't function. So that's why I think we need to emphasize on that to ensure that we put in place a early warning system in place. Over.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if other panelists have some words to add to what Mr. Gilbert has said.
For the phone line, yes. As Gilbert said, Nyamukubi population faced such kind of catastrophe last year, and they managed to set up a kind of local committee to know how to protect the population whenever there is a kind of warning of a disaster. But it didn't work. I agree with Gilbert that this warning system was going to start, but it wasn't operational yet, neither in Nyamukubi nor in Chabondo and Kabushungu. But the disaster that happened was a sudden disaster. People were there. What they knew is that there was much rain, but they didn't expect a so heavy disaster destroying all the mountains, the hills, and carrying out all the soil. That is a kind of extraordinary disaster that happened in the two villages. And what is astonishing is that the four rivers, two rivers in Nyamukubi and two rivers in Chabondo and Kabushungu, all the four rivers clashed at the same time and destroyed the whole village after few hours only. So, as Tombola said before, there must be a kind of magmatic forces that fragilize or weakness the hills. When there is a kind of earthquake which was not recorded to the system, but it is not possible for such a tragedy to happen without a natural cause which is beyond our understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. There is another suggestion in the group, in the chat. Is there any plan for capacity building for combating future disaster? Bangladesh can share its experience.
Yes, can I comment? Chantal, can I comment?
Yeah, go on, Mr. Gilbert.
Okay, yes. When I talked about the good practices, it means we've developed some materials, some leaflets, where we develop a couple of good practice, what to do and what not to do. But this is just something new, so we need to continue that. So I can say we started on that, but we still need experience from others like Bangladesh and others for capacity building, for education of people. We need that experience, and we need everything that can contribute to reduce the risk in this situation. I saw also someone saying that we are want to use clay for housing. Is it sustainable for the next hazard? Maybe Tombola will comment, but I think we need an integrated couple of measures to address that situation. One individual measures cannot address the situation. We need a whole package of interventions, including some engineering work on the rivers and the watershed, so that that package of integrated action that can mitigate the situation. But one individual measure like using clay for housing, I think it cannot be sufficient to protect the people from that hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. And Actor asks again, how do you educate people to reduce or to mitigate risks? How?
Can I make a small comments on that question raised by Mr. Actor about
Okay.
using clay for housing? So for my small experience on such a project we made with local communities, first of all, thinking globally and acting with local community, we raise the availability of clay on the area. And there's some sites you can have clay without destabilizing the existing relief. From that point of view, traditionally, people from there used to make clay, making bricks to make their house. So we go through their livelihoods and assist them. Secondly, using clay, we try to empower people whose majority are jobless by training them and giving them some work instead of every day going to cut trees or to have another way, another direction where to make benefit to survive, let's say like that. And what I noticed is that using local material and existing technique will help people to, we need also to instruct them how to live with the neighbor. Our direct neighbor is a nature. And away from this side, that's my small point of view, again, how to develop and to reduce the risk on this catastrophe in next coming years.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to finish our meeting. I don't know if there is another question before we give the floor to Fatine or Gilbert or Godefroy or Patience Tombola. I don't know if there is someone who would like to take the floor, and if we can share each other the mail address in the chat so that we are going to benefit the experience of Bangladesh or other countries around the world to address well the future or the disaster which can appear in DRC. Fatine, you have the floor.
Okay, so if anyone have to say anything or can add, if not, before ending the session, I would like to request every one of the panelists to turn on their video so we can have a picture. So we are ready. Aida, you want to turn on your video?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay, then. Okay, thank you so much for joining the Gobeshona monthly webinar for this month. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. See you next month. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Fatin, and thank you very much. And we are going to wait for exchange of this presentation and even mails so that we can continue writing each other to help this population in Bushushu, Calais, in DRC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chantal, for moderating this important meeting. I have to express our gratefulness to Gobeshona organization to give us the privilege of presenting what happened in Bushushu in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We are deeply grateful to this opportunity, and we hope it will come again in the next future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.